I'm gonna be running a 10K, and I have not run in years. So yeah, decided to do a 10K. I was on the fence about competing this year in bodybuilding. I've got a lot of personal stuff going on right now, just big life changes with, family and really good stuff, really good stuff. But I just don't know if it's the right time to dive into something like that. But I still want to do something competitive. Powerlifting, I think my powerlifting days are just behind me. I was decently strong at one point in time, and as much as I would love to get back on the platform, I just don't know that I want to. I don't even know if I have the desire to lift weights in that way anymore. Deadlifts, yeah, I'm still trying to deadlift heavy, but like heavy benching, heavy squatting, I just don't know about that, right? So I got a client that wants to run a 10K. I said, hey, you know what? I'll support you. I'll do it with you. And let's actually prep for it. Let's actually put together a plan, figure out, how to scale it up, and started doing some research and looking and seeing like, hey, peaking for a race is kind of similar to peaking for a powerlifting meet. So, we build up some volume, in this case, mileage, over the course of a couple weeks. And then also alongside that, build up intensity or the pace. And then at some point in time, closer to the meet, you start tapering off that volume and continuing to push up the pace and ultimately deloading basically a week or so before the race day and you peak. So that's what I'm doing. It's out of my comfort zone. It's not something that is in my wheelhouse, but that's also what attracted me to it. My initial knee-jerk reaction was like, I'm not fucking running, but I was like, hey, why not? It gives me something to work towards. And so that's what I'm doing. So today is actually week 2, starts week 2, and the first run on the docket for the week is a 2.5 mile easy run. So I'm getting ready to get warmed up and get into that. I've got deadlifts later today. So yeah, I'll take you through the day, show you some meals, show you some training, show you some running. Let's get to it.
My current routine before I start running is to spend about 5 minutes doing some dynamic stretching in front of the house and then walking for about 10 minutes before I start the actual run, basically to the end of the street. But I've quickly found out that's not really gonna cut it. I'd like to think that I'm older and wiser, but I just do a lot of the same stupid shit that I used to do. I'm running and my knees hurt and I should have stopped. I should have addressed it, but of course I didn't.
All right, just wrapped up a 2.5 mile run. And this is supposed to be the easy run for the week, but it was not easy. I need to be more diligent about warming up properly. So I've been doing light stretching, like dynamic stretching, but nothing super detailed or specific to my needs. And so I need to create a warm-up protocol that addresses some of the areas in my lower body that are tight and that need to be opened up in order for me to be able to get into a good gait and feel good. The biggest thing that I was struggling with on this run was just my knees not quite feeling right, and that hasn't been the case for all the previous runs. So that's just telling me like, hey, you got to stay on top of the mobility work, got to warm up properly. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put together something for myself, mobility protocol, maybe some light lifting, just some stuff to like make sure I really get warm and put myself in the best spot to run smoothly, allow everything to feel good, because that's the main limitation for me right now. It's not cardiovascular. I can breathe just fine. That's not a big deal. I do cardio year round, so I stay in pretty good shape in that regard. It's just my running mechanics. It's just that part of it that, really, really needs work, because, I've just been lifting weights and lifting heavy weights for a long time. So running is something that still feels pretty foreign to my body, but no problems, just more work to do. All right, so it's been a few hours since I got done with my run. I had a meal after I got done running. I had 3 eggs, 126 grams of white rice, I had 100 grams of chicken and an apple, a Honeycrisp apple, and 30 grams of honey. And now I am sat down to eat my pre-workout meal for my weightlifting session. So that's kind of been my setup on days that I run and lift, because I'm still lifting 4 days per week currently. Really kind of 5. I have one day in the week where I just get in and kind of have a freestyle experimental session. But 4 dedicated days per week with weights and 3 to 4 days running. So on those days, I like to get my run in. I usually do that fasted, and then I'll have 2 meals, and then I'll get into training. So I'm on that second meal of the day currently, and this is what I got. I've got 180 grams of chicken breast, 180 grams of white rice, half of a pita, a couple cherry tomatoes from the garden, big zucchinis from the garden, not eating those right now, and then some collard greens from the garden as well. And I cooked that hours, just slow cooking with some smoked turkey. That's a smoked turkey leg. So sauce, I've got Siete jalapeno sauce. This shit is fire. I put it on everything. Good ingredients too. Water, jalapenos, avocado oil, apple cider vinegar, dates, dried garlic, sea salt, konjac, and turmeric powder. Today is a pull day, so I've got deadlifts on the menu. So alongside of all this running stuff, I have entered into a race with a friend and client of mine to see who can pull 600 pounds the fastest, right? So we're both working towards that goal. I have previously pulled in excess of 600 pounds. I have deadlifted 737 pounds in competition, but I haven't lifted that heavy in a very long time. So I am climbing back up towards that, racing my buddy to that point, and we'll see who makes it. So some of the training now that I'm doing, which I mentioned in previous videos, I believe, I wanted to get some of my strength back, right? Primarily on deadlifts is where I'm really starting to push it. Not so much, I tried getting into like pushing it with squats. I tried getting into pushing it with bench press, but like, I just got stuff going on. I got funky shoulders. My knees are funky. It's just not there. It wouldn't be wise. I could be hard-headed and really push it, but I just don't think it's the smart thing. Deadlifts, they feel great. So, that's where I'm going to push it and see what I can come up with. Mind you, all while I am cutting. So I am currently in a fat loss phase. I've gone from so far about 246 pounds down to 232 today. So lost a decent amount of weight. So a lot of stuff going on, but I'm feeling good. I'm pushing for stuff. I'm pushing for these goals that I have set up, and it feels good to work towards something.
Started off the session with some single arm preacher curls. I'm doing these preacher curls on something called the Bullet Pulley 10-in-1 kit, which basically allows you to turn a power rack into a cable system, which is pretty cool. I've got a discount code with them, which is ShredQuest, so it'll save you some money. But arms are definitely a priority for me, so I tend to put them at the beginning of my training sessions when I'm fresh and focused. And I haven't found that it negatively impacts my other lifts at all. If anything, it just allows me to use more of my back because my biceps are taxed. So I just tend to tack them on to the beginning of the training session as a priority point. Getting into deads. This week is kind of boring. It's a deload week for me, but I'm really only deloading from the big lifts like the squat, bench, deadlift. So no big weights or anything like that, but I'm taking this as an opportunity to really refine my technique. So I've got 265 for 4 sets of 4, and each set I executed a little bit differently. In this set, I'm really focused on taking a big breath into my lower abdomen and then resetting each rep from the top, which basically allows me 4 opportunities to practice the first rep. I'm a big believer in good start, good finish, and nailing that first rep can be the difference between a great set and an okay set. On this second set, I'm carrying over some of that breathing focus from the first set and adding to it a lat tension focus. So you're going to see me shrug my shoulders up and then set them down hard through my lats before each rep. I'm thinking lats off when my shoulders are up and lats on when my shoulders are down. Lat tension is huge with deadlifts. If you can't find and keep your lats while you're deadlifting, you'll probably never be as strong as you could be, nor get the hypertrophy stimulus that you could. A lot of people say deadlifts don't build your back, but I just think those people don't really know how to place the tension on their backs through deadlifts. On the third set, I'm focused on speed, baby. After the 2 previous sets, my breathing and bracing is on point. Lats are full of blood, and I'm feeling pretty dialed. So big brace at the top, lats on, grab the bar, grip, and fucking rip. This is how I love to deadlift. It's just pure explosiveness. This is also how you can snap your shit up. So, if you don't know what you're doing, just, hey, be careful with the grip and rip stuff for sure. Last set is bodybuilding style, so constant tension. At no point in time am I free of the load of the bar. So I'm touching the ground, touch and go, but I am not letting the weight fully rest on the ground at any point in time. And I think that if your main goal is hypertrophy, that's probably the best route for you. Up next, we got some pull-ups supersetted with pullovers. Y'all, your boy is weak as fuck on the pull-ups. I'm talking like sets of 6, but I'm working at it. In my opinion, pull-ups are wildly underrated. My back just has a different look when I'm consistently doing pull-ups, and so I'm trying to get back into that. Today I did 3 sets here with a different grip on each set. I had a pronated set, a neutral set, and a slightly supinated set. And same thing with the pullovers. I took a wider grip, a narrow grip, and kind of a medium grip on each of the sets. So really just trying to keep my core engaged while I'm doing these pullovers and avoid any sort of excessive arching. And doing it like that just seems to help me keep tension right where I want it at. And we got to do a little mid-workout pump check. See what we're working with here. Back is nice and pumped and full of blood. Feeling pretty good at this point. There's nothing better than a back pump, in my opinion. I love the back pump. Nothing beats it. Single arm cable pull downs. So I'm kind of leaned over into the weight a little bit and just got some really good tension on my lat. And I'm just rocking in and out of that tension. So I know it doesn't look like my range of motion is that great, but I can promise you I'm getting a full squeeze, a full stretch. This is my active range of motion, and it just feels great like that. And I'm also really trying to avoid arching. So you can see I'm keeping everything pretty neutral throughout the whole movement. No excessive arch or anything like that. I have a little bit of a lateral bend into that lat, but that's just about it. Second set here, so pretty much the same thing, but I'm just moving just a little bit differently. I'm almost set back on the seat, leaned back against the weight a little bit more, but more or less the same thing. And this is something that I'm giving myself a little bit of grace with, allowing myself to just be in tune in the moment and go with whatever feels good rather than staying super rigid to a single form concept or whatever the case may be. To almost think of it like you're an artist and you're just flowing with it in the moment. So picking up a little bit of a stretch here before I go into a drop set. I love loaded stretches, especially on the lats. It just feels wonderful. Get some extra blood flow. So you can see there, I'm basically just going through a couple different arm paths. I was out to my side. I'm up in my upper back now, and I'm just putting, finishing touches. This is like a little bit of almost a pullover here. And this is just me messing around in the moment. And I tried it. It felt great. I said, hey, this is, I'm just going to roll with it and just knock a couple of these out. And it felt great. Chest supported T-bar row, got 3 plates and a 10. This chest supported row is actually it's decently heavy. But I'm trying to focus on really keeping my chest connected with the pad, allowing my scaps to open up a little bit at the bottom, and then driving those elbows out away from my body and back, really trying to hit that upper back meat. back offset here is a neutral grip, and even though it's neutral, I still pick up a lot of upper back with this because I think it's almost too neutral. So my elbows, as I draw back, they're still coming away and out from my body. So I'm still picking up some upper back. It feels great. I've just had it set up like this. The top heavy set is, pronated, and then the back offset neutral. Now just doing some direct trap work. So I just keep it really light and going with higher reps. I have to be careful with direct trap work because it's easy for me to tweak my fucking neck. So just really focusing on the squeeze and keeping the tension and just rocking in and out of that tension. And man, it fills my traps up with blood like crazy. And you could just see them getting bigger as I go. So on the next set of these, I just flip around. I was behind the back initially, and now I'm in front of the body. But same sort of concept here, just really trying to keep tension, open and close, open and close. And that's all I'm thinking in my head, just trying to visualize the scapula opening up and drawing up and back as I contract. Now getting into some rear delt work. So really when you're doing rear delts, you don't want to have a lot of movement in your shoulder blades. You don't want to have a lot of movement happening because the shoulder blades are coming in and out. So you can see I'm trying to fix that. I can feel I'm doing a lot in my actual back, and I'm trying my best to limit it. I, for whatever reason, don't get a great rear delt feel on cables. I feel my rear delts best when I'm doing heavy dumbbells on like an incline, like facing down, or on a reverse pec deck, because for whatever reason I can just manage my scapula position a lot better with those. But you can see me just freestyling. I'm just at this point pumping around, searching, finding different arm paths, and just playing with it, just pumping blood. So after that set, I was able to get some decent connection with my rear delts, but I ultimately decided, hey, let me hit it from a little bit of a different angle and see what I can come up with. So put the pulleys up high and really just trying to hammer the rear delts here as well. And so was able to get a pretty good connection with this. Whenever I hit my rear delts well, they just blow up. Like they engorge with blood and they get that like big shelf in the side chest. So I have immediate feedback whenever I'm on my rear delts. It's visual. I can obviously feel the pump. But that kind of, is what guides me is that feeling there. Is that rear delt full of blood? Because if it's not, you're probably not really, you're not really on it. And then just wrapped up the session with some dead hanging. So big fan of these. I was working with a mobility coach for a while. His name is Justin Caspit. Really good guy, really good coach, and he had these programmed for me quite a bit, and I found a lot of benefit in doing them. So I'm just hanging, stretching. I got my feet up, so I'm getting a little bit of stretch in my lower back here, but big benefit to just dead hanging in my opinion. And now I am over my glute ham raise, and I'm just allowing my spine to kind of segment and just stretching over the pad on the glute ham raise and taking some deep breaths into my upper back and into my lower back and just moving my legs around and just kind of allowing everything to decompress. I've found that stretching at the end of my training sessions can do a lot for me to just feel better overall, and it's something that I absolutely have to stay on top of at this point in my lifting career. And of course, we've got to wrap up the session with a little posing. So overall, it was a pretty good session. I'm in a good groove overall, and I'm just focused on progressing where I can. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.